Here is the eastern portion of the trail that leads up to Goats Peak Park and the mountaintop. The trail leading up to the mountaintop is located here, and this is the eastern portion of the trail. We're looking at a point cloud created using drone imagery captured in May of 2024. And so immediately upslope of the trail, we see a series of small small to medium-sized rock bluffs and cliffs, and multiple areas where rockfall has originated due to failure off of these cliffs. And so we'll start right here. So this kind of lighter colored scar in the hillside is a source of all the debris that we see down below. So there's a boulder field created by that rock failing. Most of that debris and rock has stayed immediately below the bluff itself. It has not descended down towards the trail. This boulder is one of the larger boulders that's traveled the furthest distance, but even this boulder is well upslope of the trail. So we've had a failure come off of here, this area. And immediately beside it there's a scar on the hillside from an area where other rock falls have occurred. And so here's the boulder field down below. Most of the boulders staying immediately below the bluff itself. Some evidence that some of those things have traveled a little bit further down, perhaps as far as these two dead trees lying on the slope. But still above the trail. Now there are occasional rocks on the lower portion of the trail, but they are a very small fraction of the rocks that originate from these failure areas. And that's the typical situation. You get these kind of 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 rocks that will roll a little bit further. But there's not a lot of those fresh rocks, at least along the trail. Moving to the east a little bit, this little bluff area here has contributed quite a few rocks. There's some larger ones, and this bluff is the closest bluff to the trail. So this area is probably presenting the highest rockfall hazard for users of the trail. And we see different generations of rockfall. So this stuff here is newer than what we see over here. You can see it by the lighter color for the rock. And, it's getting the toe of the talus being created by that degrading rock is getting right down close to the trail. Moving a little bit further east, there's a well-established talus slope here. The rocks in that talus are pretty small, but I'll point out this one small boulder right here. This was the only boulder that was identified as being new since 2021. So between 2021 and May of 2024, this boulder has shown up. But it also is associated with a kind of a game trail that runs across the talus. And it's possible that, deer or even people using this trail, foot traffic has knocked a boulder over and it's flipped over and exposed its fresh surface. A large but old boulder close to the trail is seen here, probably originated from this really small bluff upslope, but this thing is probably hundreds of years old. And as you get even further east, the overall slope diminishes and the rockfall hazard becomes negligible. The hazard level here is for that whole section of the Eastern Trail is probably less than it is as you go further west along this base trail. but in the eastern portion, the area right here where the bluff is close to the trail has probably got the greatest hazard level or risk for trail users. In terms of mitigation, one could potentially come up into this area and scale out this rock, so proactively remove some of the rock. There are some large slabs with cracks in behind them up here that could be brought down. Of course, they're brought down when there's the trail is blocked and nobody's using the trail. However, one problem with that strategy is these houses lower down. I mean, there is a chance that a large rock could take off and descend as far down as this lower road and these homes. So if scaling were to be done, there would have to be a rockfall barrier or fence placed in here just to ensure that no rocks take off. And so if you're going to, scaling requires a fence, so maybe the strategy could shift to just leaving the rock be and put in a barrier or a fence immediately upslope from the trail, kind of tuck it into these trees. That could be a strategy to reduce the risk if the risk is deemed to be too high. Relative to some other spots in the Goats Peak Park, this is probably overall at a lower risk, despite the fact that there's a lot of foot traffic and an increasing number of people using this trail either by walking or by biking. So that's the eastern portion of the trail at Goats Peak.